Hi everyone, this is Hal Hawkins. We are back. It's been a while, but we're back for another debate. I'm joined with John Lester, Gamester 81, Christian Deitering, also known as Ferris Bueller, and G to the next level. And we are going to be doing another debate. It might be a little bloodier this time because we might be a little more passionate about it. I don't know. Maybe we've decided we're too nice in the previous debates. But we're going to be talking about what video game character deserves a comeback, and really, back in the early '90s, late '80s, everyone was trying to compete with or come up with their own version of Mario and Sonic, and some did a good job and didn't, kept going, didn't fail. They had some good games, and we're still seeing them today. Others did a good job, but for some reason didn't see a comeback, and obviously there were some pretty poor versions out there that don't deserve a comeback, and so we've come up with four choices of our own. We're gonna put up a poll at the end of this that will allow you to vote on who you think should come back. But I'm going to switch over to all of us. Let's see here, make sure I get this all correct. Let's see. Just bear with me 1 minute. This is a little bit different here. Let's see. All right. Our buddy G joined in at the last minute, and so I'm making sure everything's good there. Wow. There's G. And all right, I think I'm almost got this working, but I will go ahead and transition so you can see what's going on. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's great to have you on. Can you all hear me just fine?
Yeah.
Awesome. For some reason, I can't. George's screen is all.
I can actually go into a screen.
I'm just trying to crop.
Yeah,
trying to crop it. Yeah. There. Yeah.
Weird. It's like you're encroaching on my space, John.
That's funny. Sorry, I don't mean to intrude on your space there.
Yeah.
I
space.
I'll get it fixed. I'll get it fixed when we're showing off like gameplay and stuff. So, first thing I wanted to do was, I know we didn't really have an order of how things would go this time around, but what I wanted to do was we have our four choices, which we're for sure are the characters that should have their revival. Some John's, for example, had a mobile release, but I'm gonna let that recently, but I'm gonna let that slide because I don't know if that really counts too much.
Yeah.
But
Right.
We're gonna go ahead, and what I want to do is go ahead and show off the honorable mentions. If y'all are okay with that, do you have any honorable mentions? I know, Christian, you liked Captain Commando, and
I wish that he had another game. Captain Commando is the mascot for a company that everybody knows. It's right there in front of you, Capcom. And he had one game, but if you know any of the Capcom manuals from back in the day, Captain Commando is in every single one of them. So it was real unfortunate that he didn't have another game, because it's like, I thought that I knew him so well. It was like, surely he's got enough. And it's like, no, it was more print. And then the one game, and that was it. And then the fighting game exclusion really killed me on a couple of characters where it was like, but he was in this. It was like, yeah, but we're not counting fighting games. And it was like, oh, well, then I'm done for now.
And also, we had, one that was debatable was Earthworm Jim, because he hasn't had a release in a long time, but he's about to.
That was gonna be one of my callouts on that.
Maybe.
I almost picked it.
Okay. Let's not get into that.
Well, I mean, we're talking honorable mentions. I mean, Earthworm Jim definitely is one of those.
That is a classic.
Classics that I can see why it technically hasn't had its comeback yet, but it's
I
on
wasn't
its
a fan
way.
of the N64 version, but the Genesis version, Super Nintendo version are great.
And so,
Cartoon was great too.
Oh, the cartoon was excellent.
Yeah.
You're right. And I had a choice in Kyle Katarn from the Dark Forces Jedi Knight series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The only reason I didn't pick this was because he's not canon anymore, and Disney controls everything. So
right.
I don't know what, I have no idea what they would end up doing.
He's just a legend. He never really happened.
No, never really happened, unfortunately. And
Great game. Oh, Sparkster. Yeah, that's a good one too.
yeah, Sparkster was a good one, but he's had a game recently.
Right, but
And
those
what was his
one
game?
on the those just called Rocket Knight. Those are one on the 360 and PS3.
Okay.
And it wasn't great, but I love the first two games though, especially the original.
Yeah, that's great.
I almost picked Sparkster, but I was like, yeah, but
Armadillo, right?
no, Possum.
Possum.
This is the good
Okay.
Possum, not the bad Possum. This is the good Possum in video games.
Cool.
And I had a tough choice on this one. This one to me is an extremely unique game. Everybody has, anthropomorphic like animals, but no one has insects. And this is just an extremely unique character here that nobody knows about. But it's tough, and that's probably the reason why it doesn't deserve a comeback. But it's also probably the most expensive franchise out there to collect. I think
there's only 3 games.
There's 3 games, but the cheapest one is the cheapest one is $90 bucks. So it definitely.
But Tempo's so good though, so good.
Right.
But,
No,
yeah.
I don't disagree there. And
That was the only one I didn't know. What was that last game?
Tempo.
Tempo. That's what that's called.
Yeah. It started out on the 32X, and then had a Game Gear version called Tempo Junior, and then a Sega Saturn Japanese only release.
Super
platformer.
Tempo.
Okay.
So yeah. I am still struggling to get you all.
It is a shame because that series. I mean, well, just imagine if maybe they had just waited. If they had put Tempo on the Saturn and made it worldwide, I probably would have lasted a lot longer.
Possibly, yeah. I don't disagree with that one there.
Yes, it's like there's so many casualties. I mean, I know it's not a 32X discussion, but there are so many good casualties. Just like, hey, if you had waited to put this on another system instead of putting it on the 32X, it probably would have had some real hits. But it is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, Earthworm Jim though, man, that breaks my heart. But hey,
All right. Got it fixed now. Sweet.
Awesome.
So there we go.
There you go.
All right. So now we can begin the real debate, since we all kind of, I don't know, I don't think there was. I also thought about Gordon Freeman. You're not a Gordon Freeman fan? That was the only other one.
Yeah, remember, that's one thing I have to get out of my head is just that these are video game characters, not necessarily mascots. That's the one thing that I have to get out of my head.
It's not a friend. It could be what franchise deserves to come back,
too.
but it's really So we had some rules where, they didn't, and we gave a pass to John on one of the rules, but they couldn't have a dedicated game in the past 15 years. We wanted to basically have it. I wanted to basically have it where it's a dead franchise or a dead character.
So if it came out in 2006, though, it's still 15 years.
Well, Bonk came out. I'm talking about. I'll give you a pass on the mobile game.
The mobile one.
That came out in 2006.
November.
Well, then that's 15 years.
It hadn't been 15 years yet.
Oh.
2006.
Semantics.
This is how the rule maker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
And we didn't want to count count remasters or re-releases because that's
no.
Or fighting game appearances because that's cheating. That doesn't count. Those aren't dedicated to that particular character. They had their own unique kind of game, and so let's go ahead and get started. I guess we'll go in alphabetical order. So we'll start off with John on why he has chosen, obviously with his background, he's chosen Bonk or PC Genjin.
Bonk.
So
I got his haircut too, man. I gotta look like him.
Rocking the butt cut, man.
Yeah, there you go. No, Bonk is. I mean, he's a mascot, right? When I think of gaming mascots, he was
absolutely he's a mascot.
The mascot for TurboGrafx back in the day. When I think TurboGrafx 16, PC Engine, Bonk comes to mind, right? The most recent game was Bonk's Return, which was for mobile in 2006. So technically, it's 15 years, but semantics, I suppose. You know, it's a great series. It's a great platformer. You know, Air Zonk is kind of a spin-off, of course, of Bonk. They were supposed to release a Bonk back in for the Wii and Xbox, and
2.5D one.
yeah, 2.5D one, and it got canceled, unfortunately. So that, you know, I remember going to PAX. I remember seeing like a booth for the new Bonk game. But you know, Hudson Soft now is owned by Konami, and I guess technically they release the Bonk. You know, with the TurboGrafx Mini, they released Bonk in that set there. But just a great game. Obviously, you can't, you know, exclude the NES port, the Game Boy ports of Bonk. It's unfortunate that he's, you know, the mobile game wasn't great. There was supposed to be a Virtual Boy version of Bonk too. Like Hudson Soft was working on a Virtual Boy game for Bonk, and it got canceled because the Virtual Boy just tanked. So, you know, he hasn't gotten much love in the past 15 years, and I'd love to see a new Bonk game come out.
Any counter to that? I have a couple comments to that, but any reason
This is
why
Super Bonk. Yeah,
Bonk
this is
shouldn't?
for the
Why
Super
does
Bonk.
anybody
Super Bonk.
oppose a Bonk as a comeback?
I don't really oppose.
You're trying to win
him
here,
coming
so
back so much. But I just feel that, well, you got to think about one thing too: characters that would actually do well within the current landscape of gaming and the current
Right.
audience of gaming. That's one thing. As much as I love Bonk, don't get me wrong, I love Bonk too. But I feel that, like, I don't think that aside from the retro crowd, the people that grew up with Bonk, I think that he would struggle to try to find a widespread appeal today. I don't think he quite has. I mean, personally, I don't think that he has quite the same sort of appeal as something that's like a Mario or a Sonic or some of the other characters that we're going to get into. On
Sure,
this
but
list.
that's Mario and Sonic too. And
I mean,
those are,
you can't
on a whole
compare
bunch
to
of
those.
different level.
Yeah, they're the
Um,
juggernauts.
I think if they
Yeah.
were to release a Bonk, I think they should do it in the old school, like 16-bit style or 8-bit style, not like a redesign, like 3D game or something totally different. Because that's what they're trying to do.
I would agree with that, and that's what I was going to talk about later too.
Well, here's the thing. Did you
Yeah.
play the remake that they did for the GameCube and PS2? The Bonk's remake that they did for that was only in Japan.
No,
That's very good. So I think they could do it in like a 2.5D style. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay.
But as long as it's 2.5D, I mean, like you try to make Bonk 3D.
Right.
I don't think he would work in 3D.
No.
Yeah.
That would be my argument for a lot of what we're going to be talking about, which is
Yeah.
well, to G's point, though, you know, would Bonk be a good fit for today's culture? There's two problems with Bonk. One, he has severe anger issues, which probably people might get offended about because he needs therapy.
he uses his head, yeah.
And he uses his head, and there's already been movies about CTE and all that, so we don't really need a character that uses his head to solve all his problems.
I have a third one.
anger and headbutts.
But it encourages you to eat food. It encourages you to eat good meat.
But
We have an obesity problem, dude.
maybe that's what the movie. Maybe that's what the game's about. Is him dealing with his anger issues.
Even when you eat the food,
And
you
his
get angry.
Eating addiction.
It does make him angrier, but
I do
that's
have a
what makes
third
it so
one.
unique. Yeah, what's up?
I do have a third thing to say about it though. So not only that, I mean, cavemen kind of aren't really in or really kind of like accepted now as they were back then too. I mean, because at the core of it all, like he is a caveman. So that's something else too. That, you know, going along with culture wise, I really don't know if he would fly as well. You know.
That was a classic quote from Encino Man you just made. He's a caveman.
Yeah.
Caveman. That's another movie they should bring back as Encino Man 2, man. Bring that.
Oh Lord.
Weezing the isn't that the movie like the anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bonk, I mean, again, classic mascot. TurboGrafx hasn't shown much love. That's why I would love to see him come back. I think it would do well if marketed right.
For the Collector Vision line of games, maybe.
Yeah, if we can get the rights for him, that'd be impossible, near impossible for Konami, but that'd be sweet.
Yeah. I mean, come on, make the pitch for them like Sega did with Streets of Rage 4 and many of the other games that they have. Hey, Konami, if you're not going to do it, give it to somebody.
Well,
who
if
will.
the character is not in Smash
Yeah.
by now, does it deserve? Since it's Bonk, I haven't put Bonk in Smash yet. Does it?
Hey, man. I Bonk would actually do well in Smash.
Yeah, he would
probably.
actually fit pretty well with Smash Bros. With his attacking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since we're going in alphabetical order, it means I guess I'm up next. My choice was they're synonymous together. Captain Falcon and the Blue Falcon from F-Zero. So basically, and really, it's a franchise character thing. They're all one and the same. You can't really have Captain Falcon or Blue Falcon without F-Zero. But I think he has a pretty interesting backstory that's evolved. He is extremely successful. I think he pushes himself. He drives himself. We're talking about backstory. Which character may have a really good backstory to continue? Where, I mean, he was so good that his enemies had to clone him. That they cloned him, to try and beat him. That was the only way they could figure out how to beat him, was to clone him. I mean, what greater compliment is that? And I mean, his uniform is very similar to Judge Dredd, but it still works. I think it's really cool, and I don't know many people that don't like Judge Dredd's uniform. I mean, the ship design, not everybody uses the ship, but it is a great ship, and it's one of the gameplay-wise, it's one of the fastest games out there. And you can top out, if you do it right, you can top out 5,000 kilometers an hour, and you can't say there's been a bad F-Zero game. There's been some that were, that weren't great, but they weren't bad. There has not been a bad F-Zero game. And so, to me, it's amazing. Yes, he's been in Smash for forever, but it's amazing that there hasn't been, maybe racing games aren't as interesting to people anymore, or they're more into realism, like Need for Speed or something like that. But it's been 17 years since his last game. That's a long time, and he there's nothing controversial about him. You can't go back and go, oh yeah, he did this and this was stereotypical or racist or anger issues or violent or sexist or anything like that. He's clean, so he can come back,
like
and you can't go back to his what?
It does look like he's pretty strong. He could be taking steroids.
He's a bounty hunter. He's got to stay. He's got to stay.
A little strong for a racer. That's all I got to say.
But yeah, that is my choice for who deserves, of the four that we're going to go through, that deserves it the most. So bring it on.
I agree that F-Zero needs a comeback. I mean, it's been too long since we've seen F-Zero game, but I think of F-Zero as F-Zero. I don't really equate the character to the game itself.
Like, a lot of people don't even know that that's where Captain whoever comes from. Yeah,
if the topic was like what game franchises we want to bring back, then I think you'd win. Hal.
Oh, totally.
This is mascots, and I don't think of Captain Falcon as.
That's why I included both the vehicle as well, because the vehicle can be a character. So.
I mean, unless it's something like
Twinbee, Opa. I mean, there's plenty of vehicle characters.
Like that. But they're still characters, though. The character is Captain Falcon, not the Blue Falcon. And my kind of thing is that, I agree with John, is that even though, we want F-Zero to come back, but nobody really remembers most of the characters except for Captain Falcon, and probably only because he was in Smash.
Well, I don't think at the time.
And I know what you were saying before, too, is that,
name two other characters.
Yeah. It's like, and there weren't really too many, unless you've seen the anime. That might be the only other reason.
But we're not debating, who the side characters. Who's the best side characters?
I get that. But I mean, not many people really know about the backstory and whatnot of Captain Falcon too.
Well,
Granted, it's like, I think that realistically, games like this are still around. I mean, like, we just got that Wipeout HD remake. Like, Pacer is a new game that just came out not too long ago. I mean, Fast and Furious, but like futuristic racing games, they're still hot right now, so it could come back. But what kind of impact would Captain Falcon as a character bring to the table to come back in 2021? I don't think there's a whole lot. The game, absolutely.
I think with the advancements of technology, you can have a much deeper story mode.
You can, but he doesn't have it yet.
Well, he's had stories within the games. It's just 17 years ago. How much could you really pull out of a lot of those games? And and the thing is, I would agree with you. If it was pre-2000, I would agree with you. No one knew who Captain Falcon was until Smash came out. Now everyone knows Captain Falcon is, but he hasn't had a game since.
Right.
He's just in Smash, and that's it.
Allegedly, because Nintendo doesn't know what else to do with the franchise. So
what would be amazing if Nintendo was smart with this franchise, is they'd make a F-Zero maker. And it'd be like Mario Maker.
Didn't they have that on the DD F-Zero though? Did you?
They did, and there's a Game Boy Advance port that came out of Japan. I forget which one it was, but you can actually design your own courses. But like to have one where you could do the 16-bit to the modern, like the GX version, and then you can do like create your own courses, share them online. I mean, that'd be amazing. It would be amazing.
I'd buy that day one. I would
buy that day one too. I'd be waiting in line.
What about a Star Fox Adventures Captain Zero game where it becomes
it'd be like an adventure game?
Yeah.
Falcon and you races in between.
It's a prequel where it talks about his bounty hunter and police officer days.
I'd try it.
Yeah.
I'd try it.
How he built he had to collect parts to build the Blue Falcon.
Or make like a random like racing RPG.
That could happen. You could do that.
Yeah,
do that.
Just turn it to, turn F-Zero into Grand Theft Auto in space.
Yeah, there you go.
There.
Oh Lord.
Oh, come on! Don't. That's.
But no argument for me as far as F-Zero is a great game. We need a new one, but as far as characters, mascot go, like.
Yeah.
Well, he was supposed to be the. I read that he was supposed to be the Super Nintendo mascot, but for some reason that just didn't happen. So,
you're gonna
because nobody knew what game he was from.
Yeah.
Well, you had to have the manual.
It wasn't even on the front cover of the box.
You're telling all these stories, and all I'm wondering is like, where are you getting all this?
But I'm not. But it's not just Captain Falcon. It's the Blue Falcon as well. They're one and the same. You can't have them without the other. One without the other.
Nah.
Like when you told me that was who you're going to pick, I didn't want to burst your bubble, but there was like a story that just came out, and it was Emma Mira and one of the guys who worked on it. And he said, "Of course, I've thought about it many times, talking about bringing it back, but without a grand idea, it's hard to bring it back."
Yeah,
if they listen to us, we've given them a couple grand ideas.
Hopefully, they can do it. But they keep saying, hey, we don't have anything to do with it. I mean, on a personal standpoint, hear me out on this. I still think Nintendo is a little butthurt that Sega actually made a better F-Zero game than they did.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Ooh, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's probably some truth in that.
All right.
I mean, GX was amazing. So
yeah.
Next.
Have you ever played the arcade?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. AX is awesome.
AX.
We used to have one like right down the road before the arcade shut down. It was awesome. Yeah, my wife and I used to play it a lot.
Well, maybe I should have gone with Tempo or Kyle Katarn instead. But I still think they're symbiotic. You can't have one without the other. I think you could easily bring them back and have RPG elements or more story mode elements that really bring out the entirety of his story. I think that should be one of the qualifiers for why a character should come back. If a character is so matured that there's really no story to do, then I could understand like he's mature. There's no more need to do an additional storyline for this guy. But Captain Falcon, he's got plenty of potential for additional stories where it's like.
Well, you have a lot of potential for additional stories when people don't know the original stories to begin with. You could basically
exactly. There's nowhere else to go but up. There's nowhere else to go but up. With that's what makes him the best option.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't have anything to stand on already.
No, there isn't. But he already has a background in the story. We already know he was a police officer. He was a bounty hunter. There's so many things we already know about him. He was cloned. I mean, come on. That's there are stories.
With Bonk, you could have it like Casino Man, where he gets frozen and he like wakes up in like modern times.
Oh man!
And he gets an MRI.
Yikes. Big yikes.
He just changes attack.
They have him in a straight jacket every time he eats, and he gets an MRI. He's not doing so good.
You could just, you could do totally instead of like using your head, you just like humps him, like that would total piece of.
Is that better though?
That would totally work. No, I'm just joking.
I know.
He just has a giant penis that he uses and just whips it out. No.
I do like the idea of him being frozen, though. That's a pretty good storyline. That's a good start.
He and Captain America team up, and it's all good. All right, G, you're up. You picked a G-based character, of course. So go ahead.
All right, so my boy actually did a stream of him earlier today. Good old Gex. So the man, the myth, the gecko. The thing about Gex is that his backstory is very, very it's interesting about really on his backstory. So he basically he had a large family, and his father passed away, and in his inheritance, I think he inherited like $300 million or something like that, and he used it to buy the biggest TV in the entire world because he had a television addiction. And that's kind of sad because he would basically sit on the Barca Lounge just watching nothing but TV and reruns all day. And then one day he gets sucked into the TV by this evil character named Rez. And so now he has to fight his way out. And in every single stage is loaded with pop culture references. They're based off of different TV shows and themes and whatnot. And the thing is that why I find Gex to be one of the best ones is because not only does he have character for days, you know, it's like you can't really deny like how much charm that he has. He has almost like unlimited charm, which is something that I find like a lot of the other mascots of that era, of like the PlayStation era, didn't really have. I mean, like Crash Bandicoot, for example, like he really took off on it, but when they decided to give him a voice, it didn't really go so well. I mean, the thing about Gex is that, I mean, geckos are still in. I mean, take a look at the Geico gecko. You know, it's
I was gonna say this makes me want to buy car insurance.
Well, they keep bringing the caveman from Geico too, so you know, guess cavemen are in too.
The cavemen are done though. They're not really around anymore. But one of the key things about Gex, and this is where I really think that he's going to shine. Like, if you decide to bring him back, you bring him back for a revival. One of the biggest things about him is that he's kind of sucked into a world that he is like super familiar in. He knows about these TV reruns. He knows about these environments, and that's how he's able to escape. Think about Gex being in 2021. He's kind of an old man now. There's no real such thing as broadcast TV. So how interesting would it be for him to have to, like, say he's on his phone, right? Like he's on his phone, he's watching Hulu or something like that. And then Rez comes back and he sucks him into the telephone world. Gex is in the internet now. So now he has to deal with YouTube. He has to deal with Twitch. He has to deal with TikTok. He has to deal with all this. And there's references of plenty that you could go with. Again, the possibilities are endless. Or we could do with that. And then like it kind of reminds me of Wreck-It Ralph. Like if you really think about it, that like Wreck-It Ralph, you know, he's an old school game that's trying to survive in a new school environment. And that's really where I think Gex will really shine a lot there. And then a few other things too is that he's edgy, but he's not too edgy. You know, that's one of the things I love about him. He's not on like the level of something like an Awesome Possum. He doesn't shut up, but he talks just enough that it's just right. And of course, he's voiced by Dana Gould, great comedian Dana Gould. He has to come back. Like Dana Gould has to come back. That's really the only real way to make Gex work now. And then the two biggest things that I'd really say too is just that the generation that he was involved in, you know, the PS1, Saturn, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast generation, you know, that generation is hot right now. So if you're thinking from like a nostalgia standpoint for that new generation that's looking to come into it with their kids and whatnot, even though Gex isn't really super kid friendly, but he would actually be a prime fit for that, not only for the old generation, but for the new generation too. And then if you think about it, he's already made the transition to 3D. His 3D transition was great. Like there hasn't been per what you were saying, Hal, like there hasn't been a bad F-Zero game. Agreed. But there also hasn't been a bad Gex game either. Again,
what was the last one? Gex 3?
The last one was Gex 3. Not Deep. Yeah, Deep Cover Gecko was Gex 3. That was the
like
last
99. One. So that's what I guess Square Enix has the rights to that now.
Correct. Now they announced that with the Square Enix collective that they actually could, like somebody on their staff could bring back Gex if they wanted to. But I guess nobody really feels the need to yet because now mascot platformers, I guess, are such a harder sell nowadays, which I totally disagree with. That's why I have a whole YouTube series around it. I think there's plenty of time for those kinds of mascots to come back. But I think that out of all these, I think Gex is probably going to be not only the most successful fit, but I think that it wouldn't be like a one and done or anything like that too. I think it'd be super successful for time to come, especially as you know what we do on the internet evolves and changes. Again, he's got material for years.
So would you make it like a 2.5 style game, or how would you make it?
Honestly, I think I'd stick to him in 3D. I think I'd keep him in full 3D in this case because we've only had one 2D. Well, I guess if you count the Game Boy games, there's a couple, but there's only been like that one true 2D Gex game, and it's a fantastic game. But his transition to 3D was so good, and I think that with a 3D nowadays, if you wanted to make him a big man, now if you wanted to do it like in an indie style, like say if they wanted to get somebody like WayForward or something like that to make it, then yeah, go 2D all the way. But I think it would stick out more if they brought him back as 3D.
Yeah.
So if you already had a successful venture in 3D, then it's like there's no point. Why go back?
Agreed.
It's the ones where they tried to force it, and that was what I was going to kind of talk about. Is that I think that some of the franchises died because they were in such a hurry to like try and make it, you know, this open world thing when they got to like the N64 and the GameCube and stuff. That it was like
Conquer.
There was
not Conquer. No. What's the Bubsy?
Bubsy, yeah.
Yeah.
Although there was a new
Oh.
Bubsy game, wasn't there a new one? It's terrible.
There were 2 new ones. There was
it was
the
terrible.
Woolly Strike Back and Paws on Fire. And Woolly Strike Back was okay. Paws on Fire is actually very good, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
the
mean,
Bubsy for the N64 is terrible.
oh, bad. Yeah.
So bad.
Well, PS1. Well, it's supposed to be on Saturn, and thank
Yeah.
goodness we didn't get that.
Oh, PS1, yeah.
Yeah, but not about Bubsy though. But I'd say Gex that'd be a fantastic revival.
Well, I came prepared, so to go on the offensive here, because we're trying. Each of us are trying to win here. So I liked your idea of Gex going onto the internet, exploring, because then he could get rid of, or at least try and get rid of the dirt that's on him out there, because there were some Gex 3. The advertising materials they used for him not so appropriate.
Yeah, but that was back then though.
Yeah, but
You're
that
thinking about
counts. This counts. This is not appropriate for
say
today
it was
for
for
another
kids?
character to come back that has this kind of history. We don't know if she, if she gave him permission to do that. Like, there's
Actually,
a lot
they-
up in the
they
air to
got
figure
together.
this out. So
Yeah, they got together
They-
actually in the game.
They had little siblings. They had a little lizard, half lizard.
We don't know about that.
That could be the secret. The next one,
We don't know about that.
Sexy.
If they don't through the story and
Sexy
find out.
Gex.
So yeah, I mean, he's not clean. Like, Captain Falcon's
mean-
clean.
Yeah, but Captain Falcon might be
Bonk's
a
got
little-
anger
He's never
issues
You gotta
and
have some
CTE.
edge. You gotta have some edge. Captain Falcon is too squeaky clean. He's the John Cena of this argument. He's a little too squeaky clean.
A little too
Yeah.
squeaky
Second.
clean.
You respect
That was-
him, but he's a little too squeaky clean.
That advertisement was like PG-13 at worst.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I never said Gex was for kids. He never was. So, yeah.
You said he was edgy, but he wasn't.
But
too
there are
edgy. And I
adults who will not
understood
like that
because
these
Did
they
your
days,
were
too.
parents ever have
like-
the Gex talk with you as a kid? Then? You never thought
So anyway, I guess to talk about Gexy times, I guess. Can I have a chat with you about Gexy times?
Yeah.
Let's not, please. No. But yeah, it's like that might have happened back then, but I mean, now of course nothing like that can fly now. Absolutely. But it's like one of those things that, like, if Gex did try to make a comeback, do you really think that somebody's going to cancel him over an advertisement? I don't think so.
You never know. That was his last game. That was
Yeah, but I don't think
his
that's the
last
reason
game.
why.
Oh,
I think it was
well.
just because mascot platformers are kind of on their way out.
Man, Leisure Suit Larry is still making games.
Yeah, there's still-
That's
so-
very
If
true.
someone made a comment about that in the chat.
Yeah,
What
that's
about
very
Leisure
true.
Suit
He
Larry?
just got a brand new game. So
But is
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
actually playing that game?
my wife did. She didn't care for it.
Oh.
And she's a big Leisure Suit Larry fan too. But she
Oh,
didn't
okay.
actually care for it.
All right, Christian. You're up with your squeaky clean character.
No, I don't think I got any issues with that stuff. I don't know why you keep trying to cancel everybody's people, but
Because I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win. This is a debate. I'm
Hey,
trying to
man, I
win
came up
here.
with-
Come
I
on.
came up
He
with
knows he's in
good.
last place.
Ooh.
I did a terrible job of reading the rules. I'm still not sure that I got them quite right.
None of y'all got it right.
I
Yeah, I
thought
did.
So I thought we were trying to do a
Oh,
mascot.
okay, you got it right.
I thought it was supposed to be a mascot. So I went real hard on that one. I ended up going with Pitfall Harry from Atari, who was an unofficial mascot. But I kind of felt like, nah, if we all think about it, like it was kind of synonymous. I mean, I know that Activision said it was unofficial, but we all knew. So Pitfall was the best-selling game for the Atari 2600. It's also been considered one of the greatest games out there, and that's not just me saying that. That's like, you go look on the internet. I mean, it's kind of ubiquitous. Like, it's a really good game. It's one of my first experiences too, which is why I think that I like, because I told Hal I really want something I actually believe in if I'm going to argue. And I mean, I've been around long enough that I can remember what it was like playing Pitfall for the first time, and it was just mind-blowing. I mean, even compared against like Asteroids or Missile Command, which were kind of like what I would consider high-tier Atari 2600 games too, Pitfall to me still blew those games away, and it was just something about it. You know, the only thing that I would say was kind of crappy, looking back on it now, because I know that you can use the Genesis controller with the Atari, is that the controls for it were really rough, but it didn't matter because that's all you had. And so you learned how to play Atari Pitfall with that terrible joystick, and you learn how to jump on crocodile heads, like pinpoint precision, because it was really hard with that joystick. It was just a really good game. God, it was so good. So good. And then, there was the sequels that didn't do so hot. I think that it was a combination of just kind of bad timing for them, which would have been the second Pitfall for the Atari. I think is going to fall later into the
It was a good game though.
happening. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where it was like you don't hear a lot about it, and I think it's because it fell victim to there was the slide off, and it's going to get lost in that time of like nobody really knows a lot about that stuff because it was kind of the crash or whatever. But then there's the Nintendo one. The Nintendo one's not really great either.
Oh, Super Pitfall?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah.
But I mean, and again, because I think that in terms of the Pitfall series, you could see that yes, they are making an improvement, but the problem is again, because I said timing, I think was the issue with these releases, is that the one I think was maybe it was too late, and so nobody really knew about it, and then this one again too late, where it was like, yeah, it's improved, but now you're competing with the stuff that's on the Nintendo, and the stuff on the Nintendo is so good that I feel like it just dwarfs that game. Where it's like, no, that game's gonna lose when it's put up against stuff like Mario and Metroid and Zelda, which is unfortunate because it's not terrible. It's just you had really stiff competition at that time. But then you get to the Super Nintendo, and they do the Mayan Adventure, and oh my God, I was telling Hal, I would argue that the Mayan Adventure is still good to this day. It's a good game. It's a really good game. It's so much fun to play. Hal was giving me a little bit of a ruckus because he said, well, it's not really Pitfall Harry, it's Pitfall Harry Jr. It was like, God, Hal.
Yeah, we're talking about a character. I mean, your character is the only one that got kidnapped out of all of ours. Like
he did, so he does show up though. He does show up at the end, and I argued with Hal, but it was like it was so great, like because I remember beating that game. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, Dad. And then they showed Dad. And that was the funniest thing ever. And I mean, it's like, it's not like a spoiler, right? Because the game came out a long time ago. I can talk about it, can I?
Sure. I'm not doing any spoiler alerts.
Right.
So anyways, when you beat the game and it shows the dad is still in like Atari 2600 8-bit. It's still blocky dad, even though your character is like this hand-drawn 16-bit character. That was like the best video game joke that I can think of, where there's like you had no idea that was coming until you get to it, and then you see the dad. God, that was so funny.
Not gonna lie, I marked out at that. I did. I saw that.
Loved it. So there had been some after that again. That was why I kept talking about, I think that they pushed it, where I think that they didn't quite milk what they had come up with for the 16-bit era enough. I felt like they pushed the next one. I think they came out one. It was the Bruce Campbell voices it, and it's
right.
Right.
Beyond the Jungle.
Open world. Yeah, Beyond the Jungle.
I like Pitfall 3D.
So it's not bad, but my whole thing was I think that there's and my last slide point was that they did try to do a Kickstarter of it. David Crane tried to reboot it, but I think that the issue with it was that I think he went too early. The Kickstarter was back in like 2012, and he was looking for $1 million to reboot the franchise. Now, I think the reason I'm bringing up the timing again is that I think he was just too early in Kickstarter when he pitched the idea. I don't know that any projects had made that much money back in 2012, but by the time, like now though, I mean, you can think of multiple $1 million projects where it's like, I think that the amount he asked for was probably the right amount to reboot a game because he's a game maker. So he knows. I think he probably asked for what it would take for him to release a game the way that he knows, as opposed to what I kind of know, which is aftermarket games where it's like, we're going to take pre-orders for however many, and then we're going to put the game out. I think it's curious to me. Like, I wonder if he had ever even considered that, or if he's just thinking about it from like a large game developer aspect, and he immediately went all in. I know that it's going to take $100,000 for marketing. We're going to spend $100,000. You know what I'm saying? where it's like I think the amount might have scared people off, and it's been a little bit. I didn't even realize that he had done that because it was so early in Kickstarter. So it's like, hey, David,
Yeah.
I wonder if you could try it again. And here's another thing that I also considered is that when he tried to do the reboot in 2012, I don't think that he was calling it Pitfall, and my guess would be because he doesn't have the rights to it. Now,
Yeah, I was just about to say that. It's like, how could you do that when Activision
Okay,
has
yeah,
rights
okay.
to it? I was just
Now-
about to say that.
if you're paying attention, there's this weird thing happening right now where Disney bought Fox, but doesn't want to pay the people that created Fox's properties what they owe them in royalties. There's like a whole thing that's taking place. I've been paying attention to this because I'm a film guy, and I'm curious about IP property and what's going on in terms of who owns the rights to what and what's legal, what you can get away with. So because Disney is trying to make this argument that we only bought the property, we didn't buy the liabilities that go along with it, some of these people are starting to try and exercise something that a lot of people kind of don't realize exists, which is after 35 years as a creator, you can request your property back. And I am curious if David Crane knows that it's been that long, and if he doesn't have the property to Pitfall, I think as the creator, it's been 35 years and he can ask for it back if he wants to.
Fair. I mean, if
Interesting
that
point.
time has passed, yeah, that is an interesting point.
Because I think that might have hurt him a little bit too, trying to do a Kickstarter but not actually using the Pitfall name. And so it's like, I think that now if he were to try and revisit it and stick with the 16-bit style, I think that he still could have juiced that. That game was so good for the Might Adventure. I loved it. It's like, I think he could get away with doing that. Or as you said, you thought the 3D one was good. Maybe they could do that too. I mean, they had Bruce Campbell. I mean, I'm a big fan of Bruce Campbell. So
well, the thing is too is that why not if there's so much struggle with trying to get the rights to that? It's like, look, I know it's not Pitfall, I know it's not Pitfall Harry, however, but why not have a spiritual successor and just really push the aspect of the fact that it was done by David Crane? And it's like, hey, this is the new game from David Crane. You know him, you know what he's created. And then just kind of go from there. If Activision somehow still can't let go of the rights to Pitfall and the Pitfall Harry,
I think it was the creator, the 35-year clause that really caught my interest, and I thought, when he tried to kickstart it, he didn't, and it's like, I wonder if he's thought about this and what that
Maybe
would
not.
do if you tried again, and this time it was like, no, this is Pitfall because I've got it.
For the original Kickstarter, what was the platforms he was trying to release it on?
I had to go back and look, but the name was what I kind of grasped onto, where it just wasn't Pitfall. I mean, I look it up, but it was something else, and that was my first thought was.
I mean, take a look at Mighty Number 9. It's like trying to make a Mega Man game that wasn't Mega Man because he didn't have the rights to Mega Man, and we all know what happened with Mighty Number 9. Womp womp.
It's true.
It was called Jungle Adventure. He wanted 900,000, but he raised 31,000.
Ooh, yeah, you could be right on that, Christian. Then he might have just tried to do this way too early.
2012, man, that's so early in my mind for
900,000
for that large of a Kickstarter. Yeah, I mean, once you start having the Cards Against Humanity raising 1.5, and you've got the board games that are raising, over
I think it was going to be on the Chameleon.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Now, I'm gonna say something real quick. Somebody.
I should have been Gax on the Chameleon.
Hey.
Yeah, that's perfect. Come on. It deserves a comeback on the Chameleon.
Come on. It's a little below the belt. Now, somebody in the chat made a really good point there. It's just like, hey, do y'all think Pitfall Harry when you hear the word Pitfall? I mean, again, on a global scale. I look at it on a global scale, not the hardcore ones like us. It's like
I do
really
more
think
so
Pitfall
than
Harry?
Captain Falcon.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that because I think more people, when you think Pitfall, and you have to think of a character to go with Pitfall, and only Pitfall, taking Smash Brothers out of this, then you think Pitfall Harry.
I don't think you
think
can go up
when
to a
we think
random
Pitfall-
person and go, if they've heard of Pitfall, they don't know who Harry is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Random people don't know who that is. Random people may not know who Gex is, but the thing is that you put him out there, people will gravitate to him.
Oh yeah, just like you put Captain Falcon, people know who it is now. So you put him out there, they're gonna know.
I feel like if you
You could have a game called Captain Falcon, people will know who it is now.
If you ask anyone 25 years and older, I think if you ask them who Bonk is, they're gonna know who Bonk is.
They might know who Bonk is. I don't think, as much as I love Bonk, I don't think he's strong enough.
I will 10 years ago, I probably didn't know who Bonk was.
Yeah, see, fair.
That's 10 years ago, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because TurboGrafx
Yeah.
is so niche, and then Konami didn't do anything with it after that.
Yeah, it took me
So-
getting into game collecting to know about Bonk.
So I knew
Or,
about Bonk.
or know that he was like the mascot for TurboGrafx 16 and all that stuff. I had no clue until I got into collecting, and it was like, oh, okay, cool.
So I've known about Bonk since I was a kid because back where I grew up, they never sold TurboGrafx. Like TurboGrafx wasn't sold in Missouri, like in that area. So, but I only knew about it through magazines and through the tapes that you actually could get from them. And so I was always so jealous that I couldn't get a TurboGrafx 16. It's like that's how I knew about Bonk. But I didn't know about actual Pitfall Harry until the Mayan Adventure. And even then, it was just like, okay, and now you realize, hey, that's his dad.
I think I learned about Pitfall Harry from South Park.
One character I was debating.
The Catholic episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One character I was debating on, I guess, Hal, you mentioned that if I had an honorable mention, it'd probably be Bentley Bear would be my choice.
Oh, Crystal Castles.
From Crystal Castles, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was actually at some point, like even for like the Atari Jaguar, he was in the Atari carts as a playable character.
All right.
At some point, he was supposed to be like Atari's mascot, but he just didn't obviously have any other games that came out. But I think it'd be really cool to like redo Crystal Castles and do new modern.
There was
make it,
one
like,
character.
more mobile.
There was one character I was going to include on the honorable mentions, but I didn't because he had really good games. Terrible idea to bring him back, Mr. Do. Nobody
Did they
wants a
bring
clown.
back Mr. Do?
Nobody wants a clown to come back.
Yeah, no clowns. No clowns.
Great games.
was the
Nobody
last
wants
Mr.
any
Do,
clowns to come back.
There's
So
one
not
for
like
the Neo Geo, right? But what was
Yeah.
the last?
I think it was
Oh,
a mobile game, right? Wasn't there a mobile game?
Might have been.
I'm not really counting mobile games because there's just so many. We talked about this in the retro game
Yeah.
debate. It's just there's just so many
Yeah.
games out there. Like
It
unless
starts
they're
getting murky
console
waters
exclusive, you
between
really
there.
don't know about it.
Now, one thing about Pitfall I will bring up too is I know we were talking about beforehand. The last Pitfall game actually was released in 2008, so because that was the one for the Wii, which actually
Well, that was a
wasn't bad.
re-release.
I think, yeah, I gotta say, wasn't it?
It was a
Oh, was it a
re-release.
re-release?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
I think-
Oh,
I
my
think
bad. All right.
I had to double check on
Fair
that
enough.
because I had to make sure to
That
know
was a good game though.
because
That's
I'd already
actually one of the-
rejected Christian twice on
Oh.
his choices.
Hey, you
So
rejected my first choice.
yeah,
that I did.
What was your
Like,
first choice?
Sparkster.
Sparkster, and I realized, oh, it's not
Sparkster.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So but that's okay though. I think my choice now is stronger than Sparkster. To be
Gex
to be
is
real
good for-
honest.
I like Gex.
But
Pretty
I mean,
close.
but going back to Pitfall though, I mean, I think that I just think that he doesn't have that strong brand appeal that hell, I don't even think that even like I think Bonk has a leg up over Pitfall Harry. Pitfall
Ooh,
might
that's
have
the man.
I think the Pitfall might have the no offense. It's like Pitfall might have the legacy behind it, but it doesn't have the current strength to really gel with today's
Well,
generation.
I mean,
Gee,
I
you're-
know. Look, okay, we're getting gloves off here. I'm not a big fan of the Bonks games. I think the Pitfall legacy for the games I think is better.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt out of all four of these, Pitfall has the strongest legacy. I mean,
Like
there's
I would
no
like,
doubt
I'm
about
saying that's why I think I would like to see another game because they did more than one good game and it's like, man, it's been forever. I would love to see if they could sit back down and brainstorm something for our age, but then try and root themselves in what made it great, which is what I was saying. Don't try and jump so far ahead. Look back at what you guys were doing that made those games so awesome, and then try and apply it to today's
could-
world.
Well, that's the
I
toughest
could see
part about
another-
bringing back a nostalgic
know.
franchise.
I know.
That's
I could
the
see
toughest
like
part of it all.
Pitfall working well on like the Amico or the new Atari VCS, but something
VCS.
like that. Yeah,
And
something
this-
like that platform.
And their storyline, I think, is open too, which is, I mean, it's great. He's Indiana Jones, basically. So go have him explore some stuff and find.
except
some
Indiana
cool
Jones
stuff.
doesn't get kidnapped.
Um,
I'll take it. It's worth the joke. The joke is worth it. It's so funny.
I was thinking there was a couple others, and it's like I was looking, and I'm like, wow, they actually had a game come out, and it was like in the past 10 years. I had no idea. Like it seems like you were talking about the 35-year thing. It's almost like they release these crap games just to retain the rights.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I think
so.
Yeah.
It's like putting out the terrible Fantastic Four movie or whatever.
Yep, out of spite, just to keep their hands on
we did
that.
it. We put another one out, so we get it for another 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I never considered that. That's interesting.
A lot of companies do that. It's really nasty in the movie industry. But
Well, is that why they put so many characters in like Smash and all that, so they can retain some sort of rights to them?
How about I don't know, the Caveman Ninja or the
or Joe Mac?
Joe and Mac, yeah, like those would be cool to come back.
Oh, I had a lot of people mention Joe and
Mac.
Mac. I had people mention Joe
man.
He's stuck on Caveman.
That's what I was just about to say.
I want a reboot of Caveman games.
But listen, Jurassic Park is huge right now, right? Jurassic
no,
World, and you have the dinosaurs, and I mean, it would work. It could work.
Christian, you can't for one simple reason: the wife toss. That's the one reason you can't bring that back. That's got to go. That's got to go.
That is such a weird game.
Yes,
it is weird.
Well, there was
not a great game.
Man,
I used to love the Super Nintendo port. I used to play it all the time. The graphics blew me away.
For Joe. What? Nobody
Joe
mentioned
Mac,
Pocky and Rocky. I was kind of surprised about that one.
What, that I didn't mention that?
No, that nobody like in comments or anybody was Pocky and Rocky too obscure?
Too niche and too obscure. That's what I think. Again, that's another series I love, but yeah, it's a little too out there.
Because we had a list. I had a list. I sent you all a list, and I'll let everybody know what the list was. Some of these have already had games that came out and a lot of them were in the promo I put out was Arrow the Acrobat had several games and they were right. Alex Kidd.
I was actually half expecting you to pick Arrow the Acrobat, Hal.
I
was ready to battle against you for that.
Why were you expecting? Where do I come off as that's my game? I've never played it.
For some reason, like when you listed those games, and I was just like, I wonder which one Hal is going to pick. I was like, for some reason, Arrow spoke out to me like, I think he's going to pick this for some reason. I was just like, nah, but I hear you. I'm not a fan of Arrow at all. So,
Alex Kidd, like,
well, he's coming back.
Yeah.
Well, it's a remake though, so I mean, I guess he would still count.
Let's see. Yeah, Bubsy doesn't deserve it.
No.
I liked Vector Man. I thought he was cool. I liked the first game.
I still to this day wonder what happened with Sega, why we didn't get the 3D Vector Man on PS2. I still wonder why we never got that. Or was it PS3? It was either PS2 or PS3. It's one of the two. If it was PS3, I know why, because Sega had their head up their butt during that generation. But as far as like PS2, it should have gotten that. It's a shame.
And nobody wanted to go with Croc. Nobody.
I don't think Croc is strong enough.
Well,
he doesn't have a character.
It's because they couldn't get the rights to Yoshi, so they switched it to Croc.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nintendo did Argonaut dirty, but we're not going to get into that. But
and
still, I mean, Croc was fun, but yeah, it's not strong enough. He doesn't have enough character. Like Gex has got the character, you know.
Yeah, I was trying to think of somebody like something that everybody's going to know. You need universal appeal for something like that, in my opinion.
Yep, Croc doesn't have that.
Well, I mean, how much personality did all the other releases that have come out recently, like, that were they that much better than Croc? I'm not beholden to Croc for anything, but like, is Spyro that much better than Croc?
Yes.
Personality-wise?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, I think he is. Crash Bandicoot? Yes, definitely.
So like, Earl?
Yes, definitely.
Well, Toe Jam and Earl for sure. Yeah, they definitely. I think that was the tough part, is that it was difficult to translate personality onto 8-bit and 16-bit machines, and so you know, either had to have the story or their character developed through text in the game or in the manual. Like, I mean, Link doesn't have a personality.
Yeah, he does.
Well, I mean, starting out he didn't, but for some reason,
here's
it clicked.
where Zelda does a really good job with that, is because Zelda has the opportunity of building the character of Link with all of the supporting cast without him having to say a word. They do an excellent job with that.
You're saying that, but it's like, yeah, but I remember playing the first game and we all thought he was named Zelda.
I was one of the few people that didn't, because I read the manual.
What are you doing reading manuals? We didn't have time for that back then.
I read manuals when I was a kid.
I have a good choice.
Also, my parents made me read them. But hey.
Go ahead, John.
Technically, there was a game. Here's a good character. I just realized this game came out. The latest one came out in 2016, but it came out for the HoloLens, which I don't know if you'd count that for the Microsoft.
No, I wouldn't count that.
Conquer.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna take that back. No, as much as I love Conquer, I did, and I enjoyed his game. Oh, so much of that would not fly today.
So
Not even
that's who
close.
I was trying to think of when
Not
we were
even
talking
close.
about who you couldn't bring back, and you were like, Gex. Gex has the personality. He wasn't very edgy, and it was like, who was that one where it was like, there's no way, bonk, or yeah,
Conquer.
Conquer is
yeah.
too dirty. Where it's
He's
like,
way
woo!
too dirty.
I don't know.
I mean, it's like they could skirt around it and then just kind of tweak it for today. I think that is possible, but the problem is that does Rare really want to do that? No, Rare doesn't have time for that.
And this takes
Microsoft's
me back.
got them doing bad things.
This takes me back to tempo because again, obscure character. He's on a reality show, TV show, which relatable to you could easily translate to today. Yep. He's got
also
a girlfriend that's like poor and selling matches on the street, and he's trying to save her. Like or get
you should have picked tempo, Hal.
And yeah, maybe I should have. And he has a positive, upbeat,
That to me, I think that's a harder debate to go up against because tempo also has a lot of charm. Yep. It's beautiful and colorful, which is something that we desperately need in today's gaming landscape. Look at stuff like Fortnite and whatnot, just like super colorful and vibrant. Those kinds of games, like Fall Guys, Among Us, like stuff like that. All of that is hot right now. So
give Tempo for 32X a try. The Super Tempo game on Saturn's really good.
Yeah,
I haven't played the Game Gear version.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah,
I have the 32X and the Game Gear game. They're both great.
I wouldn't say they're the greatest gameplay wise, but like from just the artistic standpoint, it's just like something totally different. The animation that they have,
animation was excellent,
and that again that goes to character development. Is you got to a point where you could give in-game personalities to the characters because you were able to add more animation to them.
Right.
Oh, totally.
So, which is why nobody should ever vote. Don't vote for Pitfall Harry. He's just running over logs, jumping over logs. You say gloves are off.
I don't understand. The whole point is who needs a reboot. It's like the things you're complaining about can all be fixed in a reboot. That's why he needs it, man.
So then there's a lot of characters that can be fixed with a reboot.
I was about to say, that's not a fantastic argument because you could literally you could fix Arrow the Acrobat with a reboot.
Yeah.
Hell, you could fix Bubsy with a reboot. They almost did. Almost.
But
did.
No,
almost fixed Bubsy.
I thought he was attacking his crappy 8-bit style. It was like, it's so arbitrary. We can fix that. We can make him better. We can make him stronger.
See, it's just like, I think that Conquer probably could make a good comeback today as long as you understand what flies and what doesn't. It has to still be mature rated. But at the same time, it's like, as long as you understand, hey, these kind of jokes, especially the issues with the girlfriend and everything from the original game, no, that's got to go. But here's what can work, and then push that to the maximum potential. See, I think Conquer actually, okay, hold on. With the right tweaks.
Rethinking it.
With the right tweaks. Did you say I overthink it?
No, I said we're rethinking it now.
Oh, rethinking it. I was about to say, if you're saying I'm overthinking it, that's just me. I just overthink things. But the thing is that, man, now that I think about it, I think it could work with the right tweaking. I think it could. But the problem is that as long as Microsoft owns Rare, it's probably not going to happen.
He's going to therapy just like Bonk needs to go to therapy. So that's how the game begins. He leaves the clinic.
It's like Bonk has recurring concussions and Conquer is getting over his alcohol addiction.
Yeah,
they
deserve comebacks because they need the most rehab.
I think Conquer
wins.
I think if people do well, I mean, it depends on the audience you're marketing it to, but I think like older guys, like I think having something a little more on edge like that would do well.
Like Gex.
No. Nobody wants. No, we see
Gex,
too many gecko. That'll just water down the gecko market. We get enough from the commercials, and this is like, oh great, another gecko. We were good with just one.
I think there's room for another. He was first. Come on.
I remember on Reddit one time, I had a comment or idea that I posted. I got banned from a sub because I pondered that insurance gecko. They did a commercial and he saluted the flag. And so I said, does that mean he's ex-military? Nobody wanted to talk about that.
You got banned for that?
Yes, they banned me from Ask
really?
Reddit.
That's weird.
Oh, Reddit. There's a reason why I don't go on Reddit. Yeah.
But
Sorry, my random thought there about the gecko saluting the flag.
But for the people watching, the original criteria was best design, backstory, and then gameplay, or game design, like character design, character backstory, and then actual gameplay, game design. And so, if we're to rank, where do you think each of these? I know y'all all think yours is 1, but where do the others rank in terms of those 3 categories? Because Pitfall Harry, sorry, character design, even with the new one, the Lost Expedition, I'm not a fan of that character design. He looks like a kid, like a teenager, even though.
Oh, it's the one that got re-released on the Wii, right?
Yeah, at least it doesn't. To me, I was thinking someone like Indiana Jones, and it turns out it's like this dorky looking kid. So sorry, Christian, I know you're gonna hate me for that, but character design, last place is definitely Pitfall Harry.
I'd have to agree, but not for the same reasons that Hal has. It's just like, again, when you're going through all the time, he just kind of looks like not quite Indiana Jones explorer. Like, he doesn't quite have the swag of somebody like Indiana Jones. I'm taking away the most recent version. I'm talking about the 16-bit game and the 32-bit game. Those are the two that I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about for Pitfall. And it's like it's like, I like his good design, but it's not great design. Captain Falcon and Bonk, they're a bit more iconic in that, like, they're easily recognizable. You can spot them from a mile away. But it's like Captain Falcon. Again, it's not.
You think
not
people
really
would recognize Gax?
He's not quite
Do you
jumping
think people
out.
recognize Gax?
They'll be like, "Oh, that's the
We're
progressive
not
guy. He got
talking
his
about
own game."
recognizability.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on.
They're going to confuse him for the Geico commercial.
Hang on. I didn't talk about recognizability. I'm talking about just design in itself.
Well, that's
The design
important
itself
when it
is like
comes
a
to,
tool.
like,
But there's
game
nothing
sales, you have to
special
have
about that
some-
design.
even
It's
if you
just a
don't-
gecko.
Yeah, but even if you don't know who Gex is, just look at how much cool and how much toot that he has to it. He gravitates to him. I'm going to use the same sort of. Look, I'm going to tell a real simple story. Like, my sister, she just recently had a baby, and he was crying. I showed him a picture of Sonic on my phone, and his eyes just like lit up. Kid has no idea who Sonic is, right? But just his eyes just like completely
gamer right
lit up
there.
because of the
Future gamer.
Just really came into it,
But does
And
Sonic?
it's like when you look at Gex for the very first time, it draws you to him.
But
because
does
it's
Sonic
like, wow,
look
who
like a
is this
hedgehog?
cool
I mean,
guy?
Sonic barely looks like a hedgehog. Sonic has his own
No, but
unique
do
design.
any of the-
Gex
I mean,
is a
does
gecko.
Sparkster
Plain-
looks like a possum.
Yeah.
No.
No, he
That's-
really
I
does.
mean, do any of the characters like what they're supposed to be? No.
No, a good chunk of them don't. That's very true. A good chunk of them do not look like what they're supposed to be. That's not really the point. The point is how much of an allure, how much of a draw does he have from a character in a sense.
I will say
Personally,
that
I think
Gex looks
Bonk
like a
has more of a
gecko.
draw than Captain Falcon does. And I know that's kind of harsh. But I'd say he actually has more of a draw. So I would say Pitfall Harry, Captain Falcon, Bonk, Gex.
Damn,
so.
y'all.
Sorry, Christian.
I mean, obviously, I disagree. I would love to see another Pitfall Harry game.
I mean,
So-
I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to see that. I would like to see a new Pitfall game. Absolutely.
If
I'm
but
just
if we're
wondering,
going
like,
if we're going off the original
idea
of what backstory, design, and gameplay and all that.
then
how-
I agree,
how do you
he's
rank
at the
them?
bottom. Yeah.
All right, well, he ranked his. Somebody else ranked theirs. John, you rank yours. How do you think it goes?
100th, Pitfall Harry. 99th, Pitfall Harry. No, I would say 4 Pitfall Harry. 3 would be Captain Falcon. 2 would be Gex. 1 would be Bonk.
Fair. That's fair.
What about you, Christian? Come on, sell it.
Well, I'm trying to make sure I understand the parameters. I mean, this is what we would want to see another game made of, right?
Well, it's which character deserves a
comeback.
comeback, and part of the
Yeah,
parameters was who has the best backstory and who has the best design, best games. Like what? And they, for some reason, they haven't had a game in like 15 years. Like they
Okay,
deserve it
and-
because they were great already.
But if the debate was a new franchise, and yes, I would agree F-Zero probably needs number 1. But we're talking about character
Characters.
master.
But you wouldn't have F-Zero
talking about
without
characters.
Captain Falcon and Blue
You
Blue
can.
Falcon.
You can.
Who's-
You can.
okay.
Well,
Who's it going to be?
'Cause I'm
The
with
Yellow
him.
Falcon?
Sure, and people would still buy it.
People would still buy it. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with John on that.
Colonel Falcon, Colonel Eagle, and the Yellow Eagle
And-
in
Yeah,
F-Zero.
Captain Crunch being a character,
FXX.
people still buy it.
There's a Twitter user whose name is Colonel Falcon, and I always keep calling him Captain Falcon. Like, whoops.
But if you can convince me that if that a new F-Zero coming out with Colonel Eagle and the Yellow Eagle vehicle would go gangbusters just because of that. No, everyone would be all pissed off because there's no Captain Falcon in it.
Yes, people want a new F-Zero that badly.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would care that your character's not in the game.
Yeah.
Because I think it's more about.
Why don't you go on Reddit and say that?
That's what I'm asking now.
Go on Reddit and ask that question.
Because I would agree with John. Is that okay? Well, then it makes it kind of tough on me because if it was, what do I want to see a game of? It's like, you know, how you actually made a pretty good argument. I'd probably put you up there with me. I'd want to see F-Zero as much as I'd want to see another Pitfall game. Done well, you know.
I mean, it'd be a real tough choice for me to debate on whether or not I want to see a new F-Zero or a new Gex game. Like, which one I would rather see more. That's a real tough debate.
The game, but then if I'm doing characters, then I'm putting Bonk and Gex at the bottom because I don't know. They're almost I don't know where it's like, because they're from. To me, they're kind of equal. They're just from two different eras, which is Bonk is going to be a little bit older. I think Gex is a little bit newer, but I kind of feel like they're on the same level in terms of meh. And I don't mean that about them, just like they're good, you know, because we just went through all those people, and I agree with your choices, but
it's just like we're thinking of it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like Pitfall Harry. I would have put me first, and then maybe Captain Falcon second, and then you guys probably would have been a tie for third in terms of character for me.
Now I'm thinking about like really what's coming into 2021 is just like all three. I think that between F-Zero and Gex and Pitfall, I think like if you tried to bring all three of those back into that generation, like I think that there's real good solid foundations for all three of them. But as far as like how much of a draw will the character has, that's where I think Pitfall faults. That's where I think Captain Falcon faults, because a lot of people don't really like, and I would probably say like, would people really want to care to find out for the backstory? And I'm going to throw Smash into this because like people just know him from Smash. Do people really want to know that much about his backstory? Not so much, I would feel. I would feel, again, from the new generation now. I think Bonk would pique curiosity. I think it would actually pique a lot of curiosity for the new people, but I think it would be just the fleeting ones from the fans from before, and it would just kind of fizzle out over time. I think from today, bringing them back into today's kind of gameplay style with today's pop culture and today's references as a draw to a general audience, I think Gex is the strongest one from a character standpoint. Again, that's just me, though.
I just think people would think that's the progressive Gecko game.
Yeah,
but is that really a bad thing, though? I mean, is that really that much of a bad thing, though? Because then people will still want to check it out.
If they're interchangeable, then it's really not a unique character. It's interchangeable to other people, though. Not to you, but to the general public.
I don't think it's that confusing, though, because like especially like you put them on the glasses and you got the jacket on and whatnot. It's just like no.
We're talking about the general public. You know it's not confusing. We know it's not confusing, but
I can almost guarantee if you had a survey, you had 100 people, right, random people. And you showed them Gex, but you didn't put the name. Like, who is this character? I bet you 99 out of 100 will say this is the Gecko.
I don't think so. I think he still sticks out that much further.
I mean, they're not gonna. If you showed them Bonk, they're not gonna go. Is that the caveman son from Geico?
Right.
They're gonna. That was the thing.
You try to save me 15% of insurance right now.
That's the phrase. I think that's
50%.
That's a reach.
It's again. This goes back to character design. Like you could change out, like it's just like you just drew a regular reptile and that's it.
No, there's just so much more character.
Doesn't even.
It's like I don't think I'll do them justice.
But his unique design is only in the artwork. It's not in the actual gameplay. He just looks like a regular gecko in the game. He doesn't have his sunglasses on and his.
Yes, he does.
You were talking
not
about
in the original
Pitfall
one.
Harry.
Have you played 2 or 3?
Harry is so recognizable that the joke in the Mine Adventure is about Pitfall Harry looking 8-bit, man. Like
in 2021, though.
No, I will say that Gex and Bonk have something in common in the sense that they use their body parts to kind of attack and to kind of use,
Sure.
like Bonk uses his head, Gex uses his tail. So it'd be hard to replace those characters and call it the same game.
Hey, let me tell you something. Somebody brought this up in the chat. I'm going to tell you this too. Think about what is one of the things that really draws people into other things? Memes. And think about the memes for Gex would be epic. None of these other characters are meme worthy.
I don't know. You could have a meme that says, "What do Captain Falcon and Caitlyn Jenner have in common? They like to run other people over."
And then people would be like, "Who's Captain Falcon?"
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go.
I mean, unless you're a diehard Nintendo fan, I mean, you're not. Most people are not going to know who Captain Falcon is, to be honest.
I think
that
because
was-
of
either that
or
Smash,
just
I think
because
because of
it's
Smash, that's not the case.
Well,
anymore.
Smash, sure, of course,
Yeah.
it's Smash, but
Yeah, I think
But,
it's
like,
really that's
it-
really his pull now, is that he's in Smash.
Right.
Because Nintendo's let the franchise sit dormant for so long that
But
that's
if you ask an average Smash gamer, like, hey, where did Captain Falcon come from? Like, what characters, what games are you from? I bet you they didn't think about it.
probably not.
They wouldn't be like, oh, F-Zero, like off the bat. They probably didn't think about it.
Yep.
They probably wouldn't
But is
even
that
know where the
Star Fox?
ice climbers
I mean,
come
like, you know,
from.
I'm sure they don't know where the ice climbers come from.
Where the ice
No one knows
climbers
where
come
the ice
from.
climbers come from, except
What
for our
game?
generation. That's it.
What game does the ice climbers come from?
Right.
Again, there was a lot of one-offs like that. The ice climbers deserve another game.
no, no.
It'd be a fun mobile game.
Yeah, maybe.
I could see it like working on mobile, maybe
I don't, man.
a dollar game or a free game.
Anything
could
could become a mobile. Anything could become a mobile game.
Yeah, but that game is so basic that you can't really do
Yeah.
too much with it. Unless
Right.
they tried to make like a Banjo-Kazooie style game with the ice climbers. That actually wouldn't be too bad now that I think about it.
Well,
But,
I was thinking about like Lolo, and it was like puzzle games just aren't what people are going to buy for a console. Like they're
And
gonna.
not for a character.
That's for a phone now. Like
Right.
that puzzle games
Right.
are.
That's not true. Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Well, yeah, but I would say that's the exception to the rule now. That it seems like.
Well,
all
think
the-
about it. Oh, how about this? If they made, and I know somebody in the chat is going to go wild for this. If they made a new Pokemon Puzzle League, that would go down like fire.
But if
would.
it wasn't
People would be all over it.
Pokemon, if it was just regular Tetris Attack
It was
2,
just
I think Tetris Attack 2 would still fly. I think it would. It wouldn't
not
do
not
really
a, not.
well.
I mean, again, you got to
You mean
have
like
the-
do it as like
you know.
Puzzle League.
What's
Is that what you mean?
interesting is
Yeah.
that I actually just edited the special feature of Phil Sanhop for the Mother Earth documentary, where he talks about localizing Tetris Attack originally, and he said that they did not think the U.S. market would take it unless they bundled it with a recognizable character, which is why it
Yoshi.
has Yoshi.
Yep, because the Japanese version is way different. So yeah.
So I'm just, there's something to be said about having that character attached to that game to make it,
And that's so
accessible.
strange because it's like not only because it's a completely different game in Japan, it's paneled upon. So
Yeah, I
it's
know.
strange that not only did they reskin it to be like a Tetris style game by putting the Tetris name on it, but they also had to put Yoshi into it. And then they also had to do it again with Pokemon characters.
Mhm.
It's actually crazy. They really tried to make that game work. And now look at it now. It's a cult classic. I can't stand playing the game, but it's a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm awful at it, but yeah, it's like taking those recognizable characters, and Yoshi is such a recognizable character.
Well, I guess before we finish things up, I'll ask one last question because when I was doing the research on like what characters hadn't had games come out, I was like, oh, what about Pac-Man? Like Pac-Man has had a lot of games come out, but
Went for the Switch, right? 99?
they're just
Pac-Man
kind
Brand new
of
one just
just
came out.
regular. They're not. There's nothing new or unique to it. Like compare. I'm talking about like
Oh,
what they
come
were
on,
trying
man.
new
Hold
things.
on, hold
Have you
on,
played
hold on,
the new
hold
ones?
on.
I'm talking
No,
about they
I
were
don't
trying new
think
things
so.
like in the
I don't think
90s,
so.
like the
So you're talking about like Pac-Man World,
yeah.
Or
something like
Pac-Land or
that.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pac-Man?
does
Pac-Land. Yeah,
like if they
stuff like
keep if
that.
they're using the same formula over and over, does that mean the franchise still is
Yes.
okay, or does it deserve like it needs something new and
Well,
fresh?
they
like,
do have something new and fresh.
like there's
but
been
the
a lot
thing
of
is
bubble
that-
bobbles. But
Yeah. I mean, even though it still
But
has
if
the
it
old
works,
formula.
why fix it though? If people are still buying it, why fix it? And I think what Namco's done a really good job with Pac-Man is making it
Kinda
kind of
like-
similar to the original, but then
Yeah.
like adapting it and making it like I think they're great. I think
so if it works, don't fix
They
it.
are.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
Oh.
is that you can take it.
Well,
and
apparently
you
it's
can
worked
tweak
for
it.
Konami to keep Bonk dead. So
Yeah, but
if it
well,
works, don't fix
well,
it.
That's different though.
Yeah, but the
That's
thing about
different though because Hudson went under, and
Right.
so you can't.
Oh, it's Hudson's fault. Okay.
Well, the thing is that
Company.
Pac-Man is just that it's like, yeah, it's the same formula, but each one has its own unique tweaks. Like you take a look at Pac-Man 99, Mega Tunnel Battle, the Battle Royale one that came out of the arcade, Champion Edition, Pac-Man Versus. Like it's still Pac-Man, but each one feels wholly unique, even though it still has the same formula. And that's why if there's one franchise between that and Space Invaders, they're like franchises that have been around that they've done such a wonderful job at keeping fresh. Yeah, they did an
Space
excellent
Invaders is
job.
another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, Taito's done an excellent job keeping that series fresh. So yeah.
What's the Space Invaders that came out for the PSP? I love that game. It's
Oh, Extreme.
Invaders?
Extreme's awesome.
Extreme. Oh my god, love
Extreme
that
is
game.
awesome.
Music, so
Yeah.
cool.
It's sad that the new version they changed the music Like they
Really?
just recently re-released it and it has new music, and it's sad.
Ah.
That's all right. I got the 360 version, so I'm good.
That's a techno track, man. It's so great.
It's
Mhm.
weird to me how sometimes the music for these projects can hold things up.
Yep, licensing and whatever kind of things, like Super Meat Boy, another example. Like that one, they had when it got re-released, they got a completely different soundtrack.
I totally think that was what was going on with Earthbound. Having again, done the documentary on all that stuff. The weird thing with the Mother series is that, especially with the first one, they automatically made that soundtrack, like the CD, like the spoken word where it's like little kids singing, like it had like Mother Earth, like the original first Earthbound for Nintendo, has its own accompanying soundtrack, and Sony owns the rights to the soundtrack. I think that's why it took so long for Earthbound Beginnings to come out, was because it's not just Nintendo saying, hey, we're going to dump the ROM. It was, I think they had to go back to Sony and re-license the music that's in the game.
Yep, licensing is a real beast to deal with on that, because let us not forget that there's a game involving a certain blue hedgehog that the music is still up in arms. I don't know why that game hasn't been re-released on certain things lately, but no, that's a whole nother can
Sonic
of worms.
3?
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. So,
yeah.
It's weird how that works, You'd think that they're like, how do you not have that just like taken care of, locked down for, forever +2?
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, everybody watching, that Christian has a mannequin version of Ness, so he really likes the Earthbound references,
Nothing wrong
the
with
Mother
that.
references.
Hey, if I pulled the green screen down, y'all would see my Sonic collection. So I totally understand that.
Well, can we see the Pitfall there? Because it's Pitfall in your in the view too. I'm talking to G.
Oh.
Does G have Pitfall? Yeah, where's Pitfall in yours?
I mean, I got it on the Genesis wall.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it. I'm not with me because green screen, but still.
Oh,
I got a complete Genesis collection.
that's a green screen. That's not your actual.
No, that's a green screen.
Oh, because.
Are you serious? I thought that was your collection.
Oh man.
Oh,
No,
man.
I can
Because
tell
you and I,
the
when we did the
transparent.
interview, when I interviewed the first time, when we did the first,
That was in front of my wall.
okay,
But now, this is my Twitch setup. Yeah.
he doesn't have a real full collection. Everybody,
Hey, don't make me post the YouTube link. I'll put it on there. You need my proof?
that's pretty
I'm a
good.
fact checker
That's pretty
right
good.
now.
I was.
I
It
could
looked.
tell when
It
you're
looks.
holding the game up, it was like you could see through it. So I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
green
the
screen.
green screen key out. So,
Oh, okay.
Yep, anything green or blue or orange.
It just looked like a generic gecko to me.
You can't
So
see him on here.
Yeah, that's
So-
just, it's funny.
Hey, now.
Right on, guys.
well, I appreciate y'all coming on. If those watching want to go vote, they can go to retroworldseries.com/polls and vote on the 4 that we've chosen. Maybe I'll add an option where you can vote for your own. But I think those are 4 pretty good choices out of all the ones that we considered.
Excuse me.
I still think you should have chosen Tempo. I still think you should have chosen Tempo, Hal.
Yeah, maybe I should have. But I really liked the Kyle Katarn stuff too. So I played all those games. So
I think I would have been a strong one too.
well, and I still think for some reason everyone loves Gordon Freeman. So, and there's no guarantee he'll ever come back. So
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on. I hope everybody watched, learned something, or at least enjoyed our debate. We got a little more feisty this time, which is good. We'll have to come up with an even feistier subject next time. Where I'm actually I still haven't had to use the mute button yet, so waiting to use that one.
Though, right?
That's a good thing, yeah. For sure.
Well, guys, I appreciate it, and everyone else, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Y'all